Hey gang, it's me, Charmer. Do you guys remember when I made videos? Because I don't. It's been a while since I posted something, and if you follow the stream, you know that I have unfortunately been inconsistent at best in terms of my stream times lately, so right out of the gate, I just want to apologize for that. I have a family, and that includes a 10-month-old son who is having some medical issues, have been having a really hard time breathing lately, and it leads to nights at the hospital or urgent care sometimes, like even as we speak when I'm recording this. He's at urgent care right now, and even when he's home, lots of coughing, sleepless nights. It's really just been impacting my ability to create content normally on top of the normal stuff that makes it difficult, right? The two jobs and the so on. So, first off, I wanted to apologize. Second off, I wanted to say that I've been thinking a little bit about it lately because some people have been requesting that I do either a video or something along those lines, and so I'm probably settling on a video where I talk about like my personal background in terms of background in gaming, a little bit about myself. I get a lot of people who ask like, well, if you work two jobs, what are the two jobs that you do? People don't know about, I guess, my schedule and why it is the way it is and why I do what I do. So I'm thinking that it might be the sort of thing that I do as a like a celebration of hitting 500 subscribers. I think that's the current plan. And then we can talk about more of the reasons why my stream schedule is sometimes inconsistent, even though I absolutely try my best. And I'm always hoping that things will improve, but yeah, sometimes it's difficult. So, that being said, apologies out of the way, excuses, I guess, out of the way. I feel really bad about it, but it is what it is. Doesn't mean just because I'm not making content that I'm not thinking about it. And so I wanted to, at a minimum, take this time while I have the opportunity to bring you the latest episode of The Forge. So, a while back, a couple weeks ago, I was playing a game and I made some joke about I was playing against a scout deck and I was saying, ha ha ha, Argonian tribal, right? Because I think he had like 3 creatures on the board and all of them were Argonians. And then that, of course, like anything, right, started spurring me thinking about like, well, what would Argonian tribal like really look like? Or what could we do to make Argonian tribal be a thing? So, as you know from past videos, I really like the way that Legends handles the cover mechanic, and I would like to see that explored more, which is why I had that idea for the ability Ambush. And we're going to kind of take that a step further and say, outside of the normal Argonian traits, so like typically right now in the game when you look across like what Argonians are known for, they're basically known for 2 things: lethal and your max magic are going up. There are multiple Argonian creatures that make it go up. Hiss Mage, Tree Minder, Hiss Speaker, and then there's lots of Argonian creatures that have lethal, right? There's the FGR, the Venom Tongue, and the Elite, and so on and so forth. But I kind of wanted to, again, explore the cover mechanic and play up something else that currently isn't represented in the cards that exist for Argonians. And so, without further ado, the first card of the 3 that I'm going to demo today, or at least idea, is a support card. And it's Underwater Breathing, right? So, Argonians are known for being able to breathe underwater, though it rarely comes up when you actually play the game, or at least when I played Skyrim, I never cared that I could breathe underwater. But in this case, Underwater Breathing is a support card that says friendly Argonian creatures cannot be targeted by actions when they have cover. So I was thinking about the idea of, they could take cover in the form of being underwater, and when they're underwater, they not only can't be attacked, but you can't target them with actions because they're underwater, right? So, granted, Argonians are supposed to have this ability innately. I kind of thought it was a cool idea to introduce some extra value to the cover mechanic, so that cards like the silly elixir actually start to see some value, right? So yeah, I thought this was kind of a cool way to say, like, okay, you know, let's make those Argonians a little bit hardier. Now, obviously, this doesn't work for ones that have guard because they can't gain cover, but for your other ones, it could be, you know, an interesting way to help make them a little bit more sticky. Now, to further play up the mechanic that is dealing with Argonians and cover, right? The second card that I have is Argonian Brute. So this is a 3/3 for 3, but when the Argonian Brute gains cover, he gets +1/+1. So he's pretty strong in power level, even if you have no ability or no way to give him cover more than once, right? He's a 3/3 for 3 that if you play him in the Shadow Lane is a 4/4 for 3. The only other card currently in the game that is of similar power level is Mammoth, although the Mammoth can go to either lane. There is also the green ally who has the potential to be a 4/4 for 3, right? But it's not always guaranteed. That being said, I think that the Brute's kind of balanced because it forces the Shadow Lane, so you don't always get the value. And on the other side of it, though, if you find ways to continue to give it cover, it can technically grow, which I think is interesting. But the kind of cool thing, right, in terms of like a balance standpoint, and the thing that in my opinion keeps it from being like grossly overpowered is, realistically, it's hard to give a creature cover more than you know, twice in a... Well, you can't do it more than twice in a turn with current mechanics, but even still, it's kind of hard to do it even more than once. So in theory, I guess you could place the creature in the Shadow Lane for the first turn, right? He'll be a 4/4. And then if you're looking at like maximum abuse of power, then on the following turn, you could re-give it cover while it's, like, say, in the Shadow Lane. And then if you were to, like, move it and then move it again back to the Shadow Lane, then it would gain cover again. So you could like give it cover, have it attack so it loses cover, and then move it and move it back, or just reapply cover. Maybe you have 2 of the elixirs or something. But my point is that because it loses cover when it attacks, it's really hard to ever get like more than +2/+2, and even then you're like really stretching it and probably not doing much else for your turn. So for the most part, I like this card. I don't think it would be like grossly overpowered. I mean, it would certainly be strong. I think there's no like question about it, right? As we've seen with the Mammoth, a 4/4 for 3 is very strong. The Mammoth at least has the potential drawback. It's sometimes a help and sometimes a drawback, right? Of having breakthrough. I think the Brute would be obviously better for control decks because now you could safely trade into creatures and potentially not give them runes, but then you also have the drawback of, in order to get that 4/4 for 3, it has to be in the Shadow Lane, so there is some level of counterplay. Overall, I like the flavor of this card by itself, and it again ties into the idea of Argonians making use of cover. So the last one is a non-unique legend that makes a throwback or a callback to my ambush mechanic that I debuted a long time ago. So if you haven't seen that video, I highly recommend going back and taking a look at how I feel about the potential for an ambush mechanic. So the Argonian Archer. This is a 1/2 for 2 magicka, so already the stats are kind of ho-hum. His ambush is that it does damage to an enemy creature equal to his power. So again, if you're unfamiliar with ambush and you haven't watched that video, the shortcut answer is ambush triggers every time your creature loses cover. So in this case, you would play this creature in the Shadow Lane, and then at the start of the next turn, or if you had charge and then you were attacking with him or so forth, you would get your ambush trigger. So if you play him like on curve and you have no way to buff him, he's just going to be a 1/2 that also pings something. But the real power in this creature, in my opinion, the reason I chose to make him a non-unique legend, is because he can deal damage equal to his power. So in later stages of the game, if you can play him and a piece of equipment, or play him and anything that buffs him, you're going to be looking at more damage to an opposing creature. And then even going another step further, so part 2 of this creature is that when a friendly Argonian enters play, the Argonian Archer gains cover. So he can have the potential, without much additional interaction to continue to allow you to get ambush over and over and over again. So obviously when I created the ambush mechanic in my mind, I was hoping that you would use things like the elixir or potentially other cards that, again, I haven't created a template for, but something that like has a summon effect to give things cover, etc., etc., lane switching mechanics to reapply cover, so that you can maybe get multiple uses of ambush. But this is the first time I've ever thought about an ambush creature that had a like built-in by itself way to keep reapplying cover, which is really strong because it prevents it from trades. It means you keep reapplying the cover so that you get ambush and it's hard without actions for people to attack into it. The drawback though is that it still is just a 1/2 for 2, so the stats are kind of subpar, and the ambush, while useful, it can't go face, or at least in the way that I've written it, and it doesn't really have a lot of great ways to buff it. I'm not going to say there's no ways to buff it, right? But because most of the Argonians are in either endurance or agility, and I made this basically a dual endurance and agility, at least with existing cards, there's not any ways that you were like skyrocketing its power, right? It's not like this is a strength card where you can, throw on Orcish Warhammers, or it's got like willpower and you can throw in a Dawnbreaker or something silly, right? Even something as simple as like the Mace of Encumbrance, +2/+1, and Shackle on this guy would be pretty easy to abuse. But because he's in agility and endurance, right, most of your endurance equipment items are either only your health points, right? It's enchanted plate, or the more boring version of the plate. Or when you start looking at things like Snake Tooth Necklace is only +1/+1. The lifesteal is nice, but you're not gonna like super abuse it, right? Like you'd get 2 applications of the drain, once for the ability and then once if you're attacking into something, which I don't think is like overly powered on this body. I think perhaps the most abusive piece of equipment that you could use is obviously the dagger that provides lethal for obvious reasons, but again, that's a 2-card combo that you're also investing a slot for the dagger, which, as we've seen with Whirling Duelist, sometimes pays off, sometimes it can be a hindrance, and it also still is only on like a 2/3 body. Like, at least the Duelist combo leaves you with a large enough body that it can hopefully survive and you can get multiple uses. I think the small body of Argonian Archer, the fact that it can die to Firebolt or similar effects, unless you have underwater breathing, synergy. But for the most part, it's pretty easy to kill on its own, so, it's got a lot of potential for abuse. It's got a lot of potential to just not be good at all. I think it's fine. I think that again, by making it like a 9-unique legend, you don't have to worry about it like outright dominating an arena run. I could see where something like this by itself could be really, really strong in certain arena runs, so I tried to balance all those things out. I could even see stats changing one way or the other on this creature after playtesting. As I say always in my videos, these are always first draft ideas, nothing that's like super set in stone that I'm wed to, but just kind of ideas I've been thinking about. So yeah, those are my 3 cards. Again, I'm really sorry I haven't put out episodes and other content more frequently. I'm really, really hoping that will fix itself here soon. Obviously, I don't like medical issues with my children, and I would much prefer to be making content and streaming and hanging out with you guys. So, as always, I hope you enjoyed it. In the comments, I'd love to hear thoughts, additional ideas for Argonian tribal cards, and so forth. So, I hope to see you next time.